I know most of you, the audience of the syndicated broadcast, totally get it. But for new listeners, I want to simplify this as much as I can and then get Lloyd Chapman, president of the American Small Business League's take on it. It's very simple. The Republicans are saying all corporations are wonderful, perfect. They made the sun rise this morning. The Democrats are saying government is wonderful. They made the sun rise this morning, and corporations are bad. The truth is, the mega corporations are above the law, wrote the law with loopholes. They're offshore, and they are globalist. They are bad. They've created a rigged playing field with it tilted against the little guys, and they are coming in and now lobbying to raise taxes on the middle class when most of it gets paid to them in corporate welfare. And the Republicans won't tell you that. I see these videos circulating like Eat the Rich. And it says even if you took all the rich people's money, the $1.5 trillion, it'd be gone within 3 months of the first year's budget. And that's true. But they don't tell you that there's 3 to 4 to 5, depending on how you break it down, that money offshore, they take offshore. That's the difference. Going over Obama's speech and where this is going, this is pretty scary, Lloyd. And now they're saying if we try to cut the budget or anything, it's going to cause a default on the dollar. What's your view on Obama's speech? I thought it was pretty horrifying.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's just horrifying is the word. That's the word. It's horrifying. Did you notice how what he called raising taxes? I was actually watching Comedy Central, and they're making fun of him. When Obama was elected, Stephen Colbert actually kind of teared up. Now Comedy Central, Jon Stewart, they're making fun of him. He called raising taxes on small businesses spending cuts in the tax code. Did you catch that one?
Yes.
Spending cuts in the tax code. Yeah, he's raising taxes on small businesses. To tell you the truth, the most amazing thing to me about his speech was how non-specific it was. You could sit there and watch it, and I was actually taking notes because I had to talk about this, and there was really, it was just very vague. And also the thing that amazed me was how he goes out 12 years to make it sound like it's a lot of money. You're not going to be in office in 12 years. You're probably going to be in office in 24 months. And it's just really bizarre how he says, yeah, it's going to save X number of dollars over the next 12 years. Well, your policies won't be in place 12 years from now. No matter what policy they pass now, that won't be in place.
Well, they always say we're going to leave Iraq in 2 years, and 2 years later they don't.
Yeah.
They're calling the war a kinetic action, and they're saying ground troops are just advisors. I mean, this is and now tax increases are cleaning up tax exemptions. This really is Orwellian.
Yeah, I'll tell you something funny. You can't believe anything that Obama says. Remember, I'm embarrassed to say and remind you that I campaigned for Obama. I would do radio shows campaigning for him. I met him. I talked to him. I thought he was going to be great. And he's gone back on every single campaign promise he made. I literally can't think of anything that he said he was going to do that he's done. I really am not aware of it.
And he's taken every Bush corrupt policy, because these guys are just front men, and put it in high gear. And Democrats are like, we like torture. We like war now. We like GE robbing us. It's fun.
Well, I'll tell you something that amazes me. I think I saw a poll that he has something like a 95% approval rating with African Americans. And minorities don't understand that he is dismantling all federal contracting programs for minorities. There's a federal law that says 5% of all government contracts should go to minorities. And within 90 days of being elected, he sent a memo out to the Pentagon to start dismantling that program. And there's no publicity on it. There's no press. So the first black president and the first African-American attorney general are dismantling the federal programs to help minorities get government contracts, and no one seems to know about it. But you have to remember, when you see Obama on television, he's reading every word he's saying. He's reading it. And he looks left and right like he's, looking at the crowd. He's reading it off of teleprompters. One of my staff, back when we were campaigning for him, went to a campaign speech and sat behind him, and he said he's looking at these two clear plastic, teleprompters reading the speech. But when you see it on television, and he's looking to the left and looking to the right and looking to the center, looks like he's, looking everybody in the eye. He's reading everything.
And the news for over a year and a half would never pull back and show the teleprompters. Yeah. And that's what I told Republicans when I saw his real policies, even before he got into office. I said, you Republicans, It's all about the surface. Well, he's a Democrat, so he must be bad. Yeah. Well, he actually expanded all of the Bush policies, just different rhetoric. All of you Republicans, if you're actually about the real actions, wars, torture, big government, soaking us to corporations, you should love Obama. Mainline Republicans should fall down on their knees and worship him. And hey, black Americans taking your small business contracts, you like being poor? You like not having a shot at those contracts? Good. And you do. Republicans hate him because of surface issues, even though they should love him. And Democrats love him, even though they should hate him if they followed their real policies. Let's do a few more minutes. Stay there. Our guest is leaving us in about 5 minutes. We're going to open the phones up for the rest of the hour. Then Bob Chapman is joining us to break down what's happening in the economy, the latest on Fukushima, the Middle East, you name it. Toll-free number to join us, 800-259-9231. And for about 20 minutes of the next hour, towards the end of the show, the broadcast, I've got one of the head guys at Federal Jack, a great group influenced by We Are Change, real grassroots media, going out to press conferences, asking Al Gore questions, asking Republicans questions, exposing what's happening. Very peaceful, nice folks. YouTube channel getting, millions of views. Got the head guy, got an FBI visit. And I know Popeye, we're going to release his real name. That's his YouTube handle. Woke him up early this morning, didn't offer who they were. When they left, he called the FBI, tried to go down there. Now they won't give him their names. Just incredible. And we've had the FBI come here too. And then ask us about the Obama deception, and what are we doing? Well, they came here and then left, and then I got phone calls from the agent that sent them here in California asking me questions, and I said, what does this have to do with all this? So this intimidation going on against the American people, and it's very, very creepy and very, very dangerous when you've got the White House regulation czar coming out and saying we should infiltrate liberty groups, we should discredit them, we should try to pass laws to arrest people that question government. I mean, these are quotes. And then you have the New York Magazine 2 weeks ago with a front cover profile on myself, basically saying, yes, I could cause violence, even though I'm not for violence offensively. I am for defending yourself against tyranny if you have to. Like Hitler, what happened? We should lay down to that. And he went on to quote Cass Sunstein and say, basically, maybe Cass Sunstein's right. I mean, we just saw Media Matters and internal memos that came out in Politico 2 weeks ago saying, infiltrate, destroy alternative media. I mean, this is getting scary. Wayne Madsen, who's a liberal, but been exposing Obama. He's directly from the State Department source and a major media source via a government source, is leaving the country, because he's been told the government has a hit out on him. And by the way, he's the guy that got me Deborah Jean Palfrey, the D.C. madam, on. And I said, you're not going to kill yourself, are you? And she said, no. And then a month or so later, they murdered her. And she told her, the manager of the condo complex she lived in for years in Florida, in between D.C., that, okay, I'm going to prison now. I'm going to deliver these boxes to my mom. I got people following me. She told us she wouldn't commit suicide, and they just killed her and hung her in the shed at her mommy's. Her elderly mother, who found her. And then they told us it was a suicide. I mean, this is scary, scary stuff, ladies and gentlemen. And we have a tyranny on our hands. I didn't mean to digress Lloyd Chapman off into that. but I mean, this is the real world we live in.
I'll tell you something. Someday I have to tell you what's happened to me. I've got some stories to tell you.
No, go ahead. People need to hear what goes on in America. You head up a group with hundreds of thousands of members, very prominent. You're suing the government. You're getting documents. Tell us. People need to know who and I don't do this to scare people. I do this so folks know just the type of criminals we're dealing with, because I believe in America, the American people, and I believe that we're going to stand up against these bullies. Just like an old Western where the bad guys come into town and people are finally sick of it. I mean, briefly, tell folks what's happened to you.
Oh, I came to work one day, and there was a truck in the front of our building, and they said they were running phone lines for AT&T. And about 2 hours later, a metal rod the size of your finger came up through the floor in our phone room. And we went outside and, confronted them. And then about a week later, AT&T called us. They weren't our provider and said, we need to come into your building and work on your phone system. So, you're on our provider, go away. And then our phone system went down. And the AT&T guys called and said, oh, is your phone system down? We need to come in and fix it. And I was out of town. They let them in. And then about a week after that was when Bush left office, and a guy from the NSA was on the Keith Olbermann show and said the NSA was monitoring people's phones. And then a few days after that, a guy from San Francisco that worked for AT&T said AT&T was giving the government information on people, in Northern California. And, gosh, I've had people follow me, and I've had guys walk up to me while I'm talking to people and take my picture and get in the car and drive away, and just all kinds of bizarre stuff.
No, that's the exact kind of thing I get.
Oh, yeah.
Have you had, and you're in Northern California?
Yeah, I live in Sonoma County outside San Francisco, but I've had death threats. When I had a guy call me when I was suing the Pentagon back 20 years ago, and he said, you're going to get hurt. You're interfering with the largest defense contracts in history. You're going to get hurt. And I was kind of puzzled. I thought, was that a crank? What was that? I got 2 or 3 phone calls like that. And finally, guy called me and said, you're going to get hurt. I said, I tell you what, I'm from Texas. I've got a .357 Magnum revolver. Tell me where to meet you, and you can try to hurt me. And that's the last one I got. But I've had guys follow me on the freeway. I've had people, I had a guy follow me one time. I went on the highway. I went down to 20. He stayed behind me. Went to 120. He stayed behind me. Right. But they're just trying to intimidate you. You know what I'm talking about, right? You've had this.
Oh, I've had that and a lot more. I've had the special forces guys 3 times. Once they didn't threaten me, but the other 2 times, and you can tell these are not regular Army people in plain clothes, and they get around you when you're coming out of Target getting baby diapers, or in one case at 10 o'clock at night, 11 at night, or when I came out of the TV station by myself, and they'll just say, look, don't plan anything violent. And I go, you just say that so you can morally, in your mind, pretend that I'm a combatant and an enemy. And I said, I'm a media person. You guys ought to be ashamed of yourselves. And then they'll basically, one time the guy poked me and they said, oh, you think you can? I don't want to get into tough guy stuff, but I just said, look, I just said, come on. You're a bunch of cowards. Go ahead and try something right now. Because at a certain point, you can't live in fear from this. We're not going to be men. We're going to be mice if we give in to it. And folks, if you give in, they're going to take everything. And it's just like in No Way Out with Kevin Costner. Once I had those experiences where he's being followed around at the Pentagon, and his boss knows that he's onto something, so he says, these men are now assigned to you. And he says, who are these men? These men are formerly associated with Special Forces. Yeah. And it's literally, but they were younger, all 3 cases, just like that. You can tell they've been overseas killing people. They think they're tough. And I'm just like looking at them. And now it came out last year in Bloomberg that the big insurance companies 11 years ago, now 12, signed a deal secretly to take all the death benefits of World War II vets through current vets, and they just steal their death benefits they've been paying into, their insurance money. And it's like you want to talk to these guys and go, use your head, moron. This isn't what America's about, you threatening me in a parking lot. It came out 4 months ago in Tennessee that Campaign for Liberty is being spied on, that the Army is going to Ron Paul rallies. I mean, it came out 3 years ago at our In the Fed protest. In Houston, they had the Army spying on Ron Paul. On me up in Dallas, they had the Army there, and the Army memo leaked to us by good people in the Army, by the way, because, again, most of the donations were to Ron Paul that year. That's what's so incredible about this, is that they've got the bad guys, and they're the minority, but they're the ones that'll do this, saying, don't let the Ron Paul rally people know you're with the Army in plain clothes. They may try to kill you. So they're giving the troops memos that we're going to... So maybe these guys they send to try to intimidate me, maybe they're believing what they've been told about us, man. I mean, it's just... This is like the Soviet Union. This isn't America.